Susan Miller. She's going to lead us in the prayer and the pledge. Please stand and pray.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for everyone that's came out tonight. We pray, Lord, that as we go about making decisions, we're always doing that in the best interest of our students and our staff and our community. We do pray for some extra protection as people travel home tonight, and just be with everyone throughout this week. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge
pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Next item on the agenda, item 3, public comments.
Yes, I do have two related for Mr. and Mrs. McNutt related to the transportation. I told them before that will hold to that agenda item and have them comment after we go through that material and have them comment at that time.
Okay.
So
any other people we have?
that's it. There's those two right now.
Okay. And just to let everyone know, this is your only opportunity. So if you didn't sign in, you won't be able to speak publicly on items on the agenda. So, okay. Let's move on to item 4, minutes, including the executive session certifications. Everyone had a chance to review those. If so, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Vice President,
Yes, Mrs. Miller.
I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
That includes
Yep,
executive
I was
session
going to add
certifications.
that, including the exec.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mrs. Miller. We have a second by Mr. Mike Crouch. Further questions and discussion regarding the minutes or executive session certification? Okay. Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Is Conrad, is he on?
I don't think he is.
I don't
No.
see him. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So that item passes. Let's move on to staff and student spotlights.
Yes, Mr. Vice President, we have Northview present on a student and staff spotlight. So I'll let Mrs. Varner come up. And we just ask everybody kind of stay in as we go through our two spotlights here, and then we will release everybody for photos once we're done.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Tonight, we are proud to recognize an outstanding Northview 5th grader, Layton King. He's here with us tonight in the front row. Yeah, you can come on up, buddy. Layton is one of those students who makes our school a brighter place simply by being in it. You can count on him to greet you with the biggest smile, offer to help before anyone even asks, and give the kind of heartfelt hugs that remind you why we love working in education. He's known throughout our building as a genuinely good friend. His teacher, Miss Korn, who's also here tonight, shared this about him. Layton is a great friend to others. He is always willing to help out in the classroom. He always gets his work completed on time and gives his best effort. It is a privilege to have him in my classroom. Coach Friday, who's also here for you tonight, praised Layton's helpfulness as well. He serves as her PE setup assistant, preparing the bleachers and the gym space for classes each day. Layton's gifts extend beyond the classroom as well. He is an enthusiastic member of the Northview Theater Club, where he brings joy, energy, and confidence to every performance. Outside of school, he loves playing with friends, exploring the worlds of Roblox and Minecraft, and cheering for his favorite team, who he's repping tonight, the Texas Longhorns. Layton is a shining example of what it means to have Northview pride. He is kind, hardworking, and full of joy. We are so lucky to have him as part of our school community. Congratulations, Layton, on being our Student Spotlight honoree.
We ran all out of those Texas Longhorn shirts.
Okay, let's continue. Tonight, it is also my absolute honor to recognize someone who is truly the heart of Northview Elementary, our school counselor, Michelle Stanley. Michelle is not only an integral part of our building, she is a treasure to our students, our staff, and our entire community. Michelle began her work at Mississinawa in 1988, serving students at J.C. Knight and East School before joining Northview when the Jonesboro and Gas City schools combined. Over the years, her title has changed from homeschool coordinator to school service coordinator to school counselor, but her mission has never wavered. For nearly 4 decades, Michelle has been a steady and compassionate presence for our children and our families. When asked what she loves most about her work, Michelle's answer is simple and heartfelt: the kids. They make her laugh, they sometimes make her cry, and they have filled her life with purpose. She has also shared that some of her closest lifelong friendships have been formed with a colleague she has served alongside, friendships she could not imagine doing life without. Michelle's impact is felt in every hallway, every classroom, and every quiet moment when a student needs someone to listen. Staff members describe her as loving, patient, and endlessly caring. One teacher wrote, "She always has time, even when she probably does not. She is so patient with the kids, kind, supportive, and has so many good tips and suggestions for them as they navigate whatever they're going through. We would be lost without her." Across our building, you will hear the same message repeated. Michelle is calm, safe, and steady for our students. She empowers and encourages everyone around her. Her friendship means the world to me. She forms bonds that help students heal, grow, and believe in themselves. She is amazing. Michelle is the heart of Northview. And truly, she is. Michelle, your compassion, dedication, and deep love for students create a ripple effect that will last far beyond any single school year. You make Northview a better place by simply being here, and we're honored to celebrate you tonight. Thank you for everything you pour into our children and our staff. Our school and our lives are better because of you. Come on up, Michelle.
Awesome. Thank you both for what you do for being a student. I am a Texas fan too, so they had a big one this weekend, so that was good. And thank you for Michelle for everything you do for our students. I'm very much appreciated. I don't think anybody that doesn't work in the role that you work in truly understands what goes into that on a day-to-day basis. So much appreciated. Our student staff spotlights, the folks that are here for them, feel free to go out in the hallways. Let's get some photos, and you're welcome to stay. But if you want to go home and go sledding, feel free. So.
Good job.
Oh, my mom said to stop canceling school.
I know, right? Trust me. I agree. That's great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't the place to sit. I was jail my last time.
Okay, let's go to the next item on the agenda, resolution to transfer education to operations. Jill, I'm assuming.
Yes, that is me. So this resolution allows me to adjust the last transfer of the year to not exceed 15% of our education revenue. So I'm recommending approval of the resolution.
Okay, any questions for Jill or the rest of the administrative team? Okay, being no questions, we have a motion.
Mr. Vice President,
Yes, Mr. Richards.
make a motion for the approval to resolution to transfer education funds to operation funds as presented.
Second.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Jarrett Richards to approve the transfer of the education to operations, and a second by Mr. Mike Crouch. Further questions or discussion? I do have one, Jill. Are there certain accounts that we have to end on that at the calendar year, or is it the whole fiscal year when you have to do transfers on these?
Transfers are calendar year.
Okay,
Mhm.
Okay.
15% of our education revenue, the
Okay.
entire pot of revenue for education, it can't exceed 15% of that
okay,
to transfer to operation.
okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, That's it for questions. We have a motion been properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Proposal for satellite meal oversight stipend. Jeremy?
Yeah, Mr. Vice President, we asked for the board's approval on the proposal for the satellite meal oversight stipend. This is related to us looking to expand the preschool programming. We have a partnership that we've been able to create with New Hope Church. If we're able to get that rolling second semester, which we're hopeful we will be able to, having somebody that can supervise that and pay them a stipend to be able to supervise that meal delivery for those students that would be attending that satellite site for us.
Okay. Yeah, I looked at the paperwork on it. Looks good.
Yep. Oh, and I'll give credit to Greg. Greg's doing a phenomenal job, food service. I mean, absolutely phenomenal job. I mean, so
I've seen the food truck in so many
Yep.
different places.
Yep. Yep.
We never saw it before.
absolutely.
It smells. Any other questions for Jeremy and the rest of the administrative team? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for the proposal for the satellite meal oversight stipend.
Mr. President,
Mr. Crouch,
make a motion to approve the proposal for the satellite meal oversight stipend, please.
thank you, sir. We have a second. Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Okay. So we have a motion. It's been properly seconded to approve the satellite meal oversight stipend as presented. Further questions or discussion? Okay, being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving right along. Item 8, presentation of board resolution to terminate transportation.
Yep, Mr. Vice President, board, and everybody in attendance, this is something I'm going to present on. This is not something that I wanted to present on and have a motion and vote on it in one meeting. I think this is something that's going to constitute some dialogue, obviously public input as well. But as we go through the presentation tonight, Steve will put that up here. We have very, very limited options due to the budget constraints from Senate Enrolled Act 1. And this is a precautionary step in case we are not able to successfully pass an operating referendum in November of 2026. And it's a harsh reality that we are facing, but we're not going to be the only school district passing this resolution this year. So those in attendance, there is a packet back in the back if you don't already have one that has these slides on it. So I'll let Steve get this up and we'll get rock and rolling on it. And then at the end of that, we'll get input from the board, comments, questions. Also offer public comment to anybody, our two that are signed up here as well. So you're good. Okay, so first slide, just a generic slide. Just want to talk about SEA 1 impacts and the potential of cancellation of transportation resolution. This would take effect for the 27-28 school year. Again, due to Senate Enrolled Act 1 and the cuts that we've seen to our operations fund budget. We do have an option to not have to go through with canceling transportation, but that's going to take the community voting to approve an operating referendum. So you can go ahead to the next slide, Steve. So this slide, okay, why are we here tonight? Really talk about SEA 1. It's significantly reduced revenue for public schools statewide, so it's not just a Mississinawa problem. We are probably going to be one of the first ones to pass this resolution this year. We're not going to be the first ones in the history of the state to pass this resolution. I'll get to that here later. There's another school to the south of us that is going to more than likely be passing this resolution that I've talked to actually as late as today. So it's a harsh reality. The district itself has taken major internal cost saving steps, but however, we can't control our revenue for the operations fund. That's out of our control. That's dictated by legislation. Third point on this slide is without a past operating referendum in November of 26, the corporation cannot maintain transportation after the 26-27 school year. We can't operate the operations fund in a deficit. We've actually been reached out to by government agencies that have flagged us and the impacts of SEA 1 to our district because it is such a harsh impact to our district on what our 5-year plan is going to be. Fourth point, the board must consider a resolution informing the community at least 1 year in advance per Indiana Code 20-27-13-3. This code prior to July 1st of 2025 said you had to give a 3-year notice to the community. It adjusted July 1st of 2025 to 1 year notice. I think there was a thought process from legislation that they needed to adjust that due to what was going to happen with Senate Enrolled Act 1. Otherwise, I don't know why they would have adjusted it from 3 years to 1 year. I think they anticipated that Senate Enrolled Act 1 was going to put some districts in some financial hardships and with their operations fund, and transportation was going to be a harsh reality to things that districts were going to have to cut. So you can go next slide. Okay, so this slide right here, just talking about the impacts of SEA 1 and other circuit breaker loss to Mississinawa Community School Corporation's operation budget by 2029. Draw everybody's attention to the yellow highlighted section on this where it says unit total. This is circuit breaker loss. Currently, we see the district as of 2024 saw $307,000 of circuit breaker loss, and that's due to property tax caps for us. What you'll see is by 2029, that circuit breaker loss combined with SEA 1 grows to $1.5 million of lost revenue to the district. If you drop down to circuit breaker loss, the bottom row of this chart, everything highlighted in orange, that shows the percentage of the money that we should get that we don't get due to circuit breaker loss. So we lost during 2024, 11.8% of our anticipated revenue to the operations fund due to circuit breaker loss. By 2028 and 2029, that grows to nearly 50% of lost revenue. And that growth is due to Senate Enrolled Act 1 and the changes in how net assessed value is calculated, the loss of the property tax replacement credit, and the increase of business personal property going from $80,000 exemption to a $2 million exemption. We're hit pretty hard with that. You can go next slide. So how did SEA 1 slow the growth or decrease net assessed value? This is something we've talked about before that Policy Analytics brought up. Essentially, if you look at net assessed value prior to SEA 1, you'll notice that dark blue to the left, that's a bigger pie. So we still have approximately the same amount of students. So that pie is shrinking. So we have to service the same number of buildings, same amount of students with a smaller piece of pie. So you go from an 8-slice pie to a 6-slice pie, essentially. I mean, that's what we're doing at this point. So that's just kind of a way to put it in reference, and we have no control over that whatsoever. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so what does less of the pie mean to feed the same number of students? So I'm going to work from this slide. I'm going to work from the bottom up. So looking at the Big Dave pizza pie down there at the bottom left, that is kind of constituted with 2025 data. Assessed value pre-Senate Enrolled Act 1 for the district was around $346 million. You go up to the large pie, okay, we're decreasing in 2026 to about $342 million of net assessed value. And then by 2027, $321 million of net assessed value. So that's due to the tax exemptions that are being provided to homeowners and business owners as part of SEA 1. Great for a homeowner and business owner, but really not so much. And once you really get to the fine details of homeowners, it's really not that big of a difference. But at the end of the day, that's lost revenue for the district. And if we don't have that revenue, we have to cut something at the end of the day, or we have to replace that revenue one way or another. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so on this one, it's really modeling out SEA 1 over the years. The top graph in green is the gross assessed value projected for the district. The blue is the net assessed value. So that is pre-Senate Enrolled Act 1. Pre-Senate Enrolled Act 1, that is the assessed value, the net assessed value. That's after deductions, business deductions, and homestead deductions for homeowners. The orange is what the net assessed value has become after Senate Enrolled Act 1. So you'll see that we're at $346.5 million in 2025 of net assessed value. We don't get back to that net assessed value until 2033. So as inflationary costs, and the operations fund truly is the fund that is hit the hardest from inflation. When you think in terms of utilities, fuel cost, maintenance on buildings, buses. Where's Jared? Give me an idea during your time period here. When you started, what did a bus cost to what it costs now?
Under 120,000, we're over 160 right now.
So, in how many years?
5.
In 5 years, that's what a yellow school bus has increased over the course of 5 years. And it takes us 18 to 24 months to get those in. So that fund is hit very, very hard from inflationary costs. So we are expected to, over the next 8-9 years, operate a fund that is hit hard with inflationary cost with significantly less dollars. It's an unrealistic ideology. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, back to my pizza pie references. Same number of kids, smaller pizza pie to deal with. Again, I'll work my way up from bottom to top here. Is Mississinawa Community School Corporation operation net levy pre-SEA 1 in 2025 is $2.2 million. We had more students last year. We're down student enrollment wise, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But we generated $865 of operations fund levy per student. And I'll tell you state averages here in a minute. It's actually on the top one. It's $1,584 per student. So we're about half of what the state average is in terms of operations levy per student. Next column up, our operations net levy post Senate Enrolled Act in 2026 will go down to $2.1 million. So we see about $150,000 decrease in our operations levy. Now we do have less students, so that gives us a little bit more money per student since we're generating less students, or since we have less students this year. Go up to the next one, 2027, we're down to $2 million. So that's $909 per student. Go up the top one. This is where we're hit really hard, is in 2028. We will drop to 1.4 million revenue. And let's say we stay at around 2,200 students. Projected revenue would have been $2.9 million during that year. That's a $1.5 million funding deficit that we lost from what was projected pre-Senate Enrolled Act 1 to what it's projected at to be post-Senate Enrolled Act 1. That would put our revenue per student in the operations fund down to an abysmal $636 per student. When the state average is $1,584 per student. It's just the math, but in layman's terms, the math doesn't math at that point in time. So go ahead and go to the next slide. This one, I want to really point out two areas, and we talked about this already before, the yellow and the orange. I just want to hit on them again. In the yellow, that shows the circuit breaker loss. We do see circuit breaker loss due to property tax caps, being a TIF district, which is tax increment financing. We lose a lot of revenue because of that. People will say, well, the city's doing really well. City's doing really well. Yes, the city is doing really well. All the new industry coming in is TIF industry. New housing's TIF. That means that money does not come to the school. That money that the school would see, we are not seeing that money. That's just the reality of it. We can have partnerships with the city, but at the end of the day, money, we're not getting a dollar for a dollar on the money that we're losing from these TIF areas. Then you throw in the impacts of SEA 1 that was put into legislation July 1st of 2025, and that hits us even harder, especially come 28 and 29 and during those years. So again, we've talked about this already before, $1.5 million loss of lost revenue in 2029. That decreases our operations levy by nearly 50% by 2029. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, this is a slide the board you guys have seen before. We've talked about in a prior public work session as well with policy analytics. This shows what SEA 1 does to the median homeowner, which is around $128,000 assessed valued home in Gas City. So that average home is 2025 paying around $947 a year in property taxes. Because of that $300 or 10% credit as part of SEA 1, they're going to see a slight drop in their property taxes by about $24 per year. To me, that's not worth it for a school to look at having to jeopardize transportation. Then the next hit we take is the business personal property exemption. That happens in 2027. Okay, that doesn't affect the homeowner. So what happens? The homeowners, because of that business personal property tax, homeowners' property taxes are now going to go up to compensate for that business personal property tax exemption. It used to be $80,000. Anything less than $80,000 could be exempted from tax. 2027, that goes to $2 million. Any business personal property tax or any business personal property that is less than $2 million at that point in time is tax exempt then. So big jump, a big jump. Then you go, so the homeowner is going to see their property taxes actually increase because of that. And then you go to 2028, we lose the PTRC, which is the loss of the property tax replacement credit. What that is the local income tax can be used locally to offset homeowners' property taxes. That goes away in 2028, which again means homeowners will see their property taxes go up again because of that loss in the lit. Gets very complex when you start talking about this stuff, but SEA 1 was projected and advertised as a benefit to everyday homeowners. That's truly not the case when you look at it from statewide data. Definitely not the case when you look at it from local data. I think you're going to see the vast majority of the impact go because of that business personal property tax exemptions going from 80,000 to 2 million. Go ahead and go next slide. So a summary of what SEA 1 did and the changes which are pushing and pulling against one another. And that's truly what it is. I mean, yeah, initially with a $300 or 10% property tax credit going to homeowners in the initial year, that gets a savings to homeowners there. But then year 2, because of the business personal property exemptions, homeowners they're going to lose that benefit that they had, and the businesses are going to benefit then. So it's just a push and pull over the course of 3 to 5 years. So what it did is increased homestead supplemental deduction by 2/3 by 2031. That's what SEA 1 did. New homestead, that $300 or 10% credit was part of it. There's an agricultural reduced base rate, 2% properties. So your apartments, long-term care, and agricultural ground received a deduction by 1/3 by 2031. And that again, the exemption of business personal property up to $2 million from the $80,000 current threshold. And then you have the elimination of lit or local income tax, which may affect the property tax replacement credits or certified shares. We don't do the certified shares here locally. It's all as part of the property tax replacement credit. So that will go away again at 2028, I believe is the year. Go ahead and go next slide. So I want to show comparison data for Mississinawa compared to Grant County as well as state average. And this is really astonishing here. And people will say, well, the operations fund levy per student would be greater if you didn't take the out of district students. Yes, you're correct. But if you look at us compared, our out-of-district enrollment compared to all the other schools, Marion only has 3% of their students is out-of-district. Eastbrook, they're right in the same ballpark as us. They have 26% of their students are out-of-district. Oak Hill has 30% of their students is out-of-district. Madison Grant, 54% of their students are out-of-district. Mississinawa, 30%. State average is 10%. So even if we excluded those 30%, we did reduce our out-of-district students significantly this past year, well over 100. That comes at a price to the district. We are legally able to transfer a maximum of 15% of our ed fund dollars into our ops fund. That cost us, by taking those 100 plus students less, that cost us about $250,000 of transferable dollars from our ed fund to our ops fund this year. So people need to understand that regarding the out-of-district students. Plus, to go into it, the funding that maintains and stays in the education fund, that means those are teachers that we have to cut. And we are cutting $1.3 million of educational staffing at the end of this year, after we already absorbed $500,000 positions over last summer. So that's $1.8 million of positions that will be gone from our education fund that has nothing to do with our ops fund, that will be gone over the course of really 12 to 15 months. So when you look at the operations fund, I'll go back to that graph. When you look at the operations fund levy per student, Marion generates $2,640 per student in operations fund levy. Eastbrook, $1,708. Oak Hill, $1,380. Madison Grant, even though they have 54% of their students are out of district with their online virtual academy, they generate $1,009 per student. Mississinawa, $865 per student. And go back, we're going to be in the 600s come 2028, 2029 per student. So state average is $1,584 per student. Mississinawa received the lowest amount of operations fund levy than any other school in Grant County, 45% less than the state average. If we were able to generate the state average on a per student basis, that would create an additional $1.6 million per year of additional revenue for the district. We can't unilaterally do that. This is all legislatively based. The funding is legislatively based. It's outside of our control on the money that we receive. So SEA 1, that 1.6 million that we could generate is going to cut that even more in the future. So this graph right here is a really powerful graph. In my opinion, it really shows how we are compared to other county schools, why we have to pass an operating referendum, or we're going to have to cancel transportation plus make other additional cuts. I mean, there's not a third option. Ultimately, those are our two options. We cannot operate the operations fund in a deficit. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So why is transportation needing to be considered as a potential cut? Transportation is the single largest expense that we can legally and functionally cut to make up the loss of revenue to the operations fund due to SEA 1. Transportation costs about $1.2 million annually, and that is consistently increasing every year. Even if we cut transportation, we are not able to fully cut that $1.2 million. Legally, we are still required to offer transportation to students with an IEP. So approximately 30% of our students have an IEP. So we would still be transporting those students. And then we have to have the tough conversation about extracurriculars and athletics. Do we continue to offer transportation for that or not? That's going to be part of a conversation we're going to have internally as a group, get community input on that as well. But even if we're able to, we know that we're not able to cut that full 1.2 million. I know I have to make up 1.2 to 1.5 million of lost revenue to the operations fund. I'm projecting that we're going to be able to cut maybe maximum $800,000 if we cut gen ed, student transportation, and extracurriculars out of there. We're still going to have $400,000 or $500,000 of transportation costs that legally we have to provide. So we will have to find other cuts in the operations fund to pick and pull from to make up that difference. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So what other cuts can we make? So we know if we cut transportation, we're still short. We still have to come up with more cuts beyond that if we can't pass an operating referendum. So next we have to look at reductions in non-academic staffing, such as central office admin staff, custodial maintenance staff, annual capital projects such as building maintenance, asphalt repair, etc. There's not another line item in the budget that we can cut that will make up the funding cuts that are being caused by Senate Enrolled Act 1. Again, we have two options. We either pass a referendum or we cut transportation along with other items. That's the reality that we're facing by 2028. Go ahead and go next slide. So is MCSC the only school impacted by SEA 1? Blunt answer is no. I'm on a weekly call with superintendents throughout the state of Indiana. There are right now unofficially confirmed 45 to 50 schools that are going to be going for a referendum in the November of 2026 ballot, and that is due to Senate Enrolled Act 1 impacts. On a typical year, for reference, on an election cycle, there are 5 to 8 schools. I think there were 5 schools in this past November that went for an operating referendum. 4 of 5 passed. So that's an average. Typically no more than 8 are up for an operating or a capital referendum. So jumping that number to where it's already 45 to 50 that are confirmed, many of our advisors are projecting that number is going to be more realistically closer to 100 for the fall, November 2026. And I guarantee you it'd be well over 100 when you combine it between November of 26 and then the next election cycle of November of 2028. It'll be well over 100 schools. So you're looking at over 40% of the schools in the state of Indiana are going to have to pass an operating referendum or make significant cuts to their operations budget. For example, I know those people for a loop at looking at canceling transportation because they think it's required. It is not legally required. There have been schools that have had to pass the resolution and had to actually see it through. Lake Station was the most recent school corporation in northern Indiana. They were forced to reduce their transportation department in 2024 due to not passing an operating referendum in the election of 2023. There will be other schools, not just Mississinawa, that will have their boards pass these resolutions just because of the year notice that you have to give your community. There will be other schools that pass these resolutions this school year. We will not be the only one, but we are the first. So I believe in getting information out to the community quicker rather than later. So we'll take a brunt of the heat because of that, because we're the first ones to go in public with that, and that's the reality of that. But we will not be the only ones that pass this resolution. I can guarantee that. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So why can't we move money from another fund? Well, we do. We already moved the maximum amount that we can from our education fund to our operations fund. But my first point there is the debt service fund is used for specifically listed projects within the bonds that were authorized. We cannot use the debt service fund for salaries or annual recurring expenses like transportation. We can use it to pay for one-time purchases like buses, which we have. We use some of the 23 GO bond or 24 GO bond. 23 GO bond to buy a few buses. And that's the way we've been able to help our operations fund is items that we would typically pay for out of operations, those large scale $160,000, $170,000 bus purchases that we weren't financially able to afford to pay out of operations fund. We've been able to use to pay out of debt service with some of our bond dollars. The reality is if we really don't have a transportation system, we're not going to be buying those buses anymore. So that's something we're looking at. But the debt service fund cannot help out operations in any other way. We cannot transfer money from debt service into the operations fund. Talked about this a little bit already. We already transferred the maximum of 15%. That's a maximum that's legally allowed by state statute. The resolution just went through tonight about it. 15% from the ed fund to the operations fund. Our community, when we're talking about a capital referendum, which we're not talking about a capital referendum, we're talking only about an operations referendum. But our community came out when we were talking about a capital referendum and increase in taxes for facilities said, well, take decrease out of district students. Well, we did that at a cost of $250,000 this year and that's $250,000 that's $250,000 lost revenue just to the operations fund. That is all in actuality, probably about $1.5 million of lost revenue between the education fund and operations fund in terms of funding dollars from the states. I want to be clear with everybody that we are not talking about a capital referendum at this point, which means building facilities. We are talking solely about an operations referendum that is strictly about us just being able to maintain and operate and do business as we've been doing business without significantly impacting students. Last couple points that I have there is, again, I've hit on this before. We have two options left at this time. Pass an operating referendum, which is going to be approximately $20 per month to the median homeowner to recoup the loss and revenue from Senate Enrolled Act 1, or don't pass an operating referendum and cut transportation along with other vital staff and services to make up the difference in loss of revenue. There's not a third option. There's just not. I mean, we could hope and pray that the third option is state legislature changes Senate Enrolled Act 1, but I can't operate on a hope and a prayer. I can't do that. I have to operate with the numbers that I have in front of me and with establishing our budget. And when I have my last point there, when I have references from our officials from and the board from the Distress Unit Appeals Board, DUAB, from the state, asking us what our plan is, because we're one of the most significantly impacted districts in the state of Indiana from Senate Enrolled Act 1. They want to know what our plan is over the next 5 years to handle that. My answer to them is pretty short and sweet. It's, well, going for an operating referendum 2026. That passes, that changes our cash flow for our operating referendum. We don't pass the operating referendum, well, we have to cut our budget by 1.2 to 1.5 million per year. That means we cut transportation and other things to make up that difference. That's the short answer for them on that. So again, people want to attack the school. The public wants to attack the school on our decisions being made. But at the end of the day, we are not the ones that have enacted the decisions to change the way the funding works. That was changed by your local reps, your state reps, what was passed down in Indianapolis. We have to operate with whatever they give to us. That's simple. If we're not able to operate with what they give to us, then we have to go locally and ask the community to vote to approve an operating referendum so that we can operate. We take no pleasure. I get no personal gain out of going for whether it's a capital referendum or an operating referendum or a school safety referendum. I have nothing to benefit from that. Fact of the matter is there's not to make this about me, but there's a good reality at the end of the day that I lose my job or these guys lose their job. Board members get elected off the board because of this, because it is so controversial and it splits the community. So there is no benefit for us to go for this. No, any superintendent that you would talk to in the state of Indiana would tell you that the last thing they ever want to do is to look at an operating or capital referendum or a safety referendum. They don't want to do it because it is a politically divisive campaign that everybody loses in, unfortunately. And our only hope in this is that the community stays above board. Everybody stays respectful during this process. We can have difference of opinions. You can go to the poll and vote yes. You can go to the poll and you can vote no. However, it's important that people stay respectful to one another and understand that we're doing this just to be able to continue to operate and function. We want to continue to offer transportation to students. I can tell you what's going to happen if we have to cancel transportation. It will kill the school. It will kill the community. End of the day, end of story. I mean, that's what will happen. You will maintain the out of district students that we have because they're used to transporting themselves. We will lose a large number of our in-district students to virtual or online options is what will happen, which means less funding into the education fund, 15% less funding that's transferred from ed fund to operations fund, which means we're cutting more teachers. People are going to potentially move out of the district. It's a snowball effect at the end of the day. And school funding's changed. It's changed a lot over the last 10 years, and it's definitely changing very, very fast this year and for the next 5 to 8 years, unless legislation changes and does something different. But I want to reiterate to folks that this is not something that we want to do. This operating referendum has nothing to do with buildings. This operating referendum is truly to be able to maintain transportation and other vital staff and programs for us going forward. People are still hung up on the capital referendum piece that we're going to double their property taxes. That's not the case. We will have updated numbers based upon 2026 net assessed value right after Christmas to get the new tax calculator out to the community starting in January, February. But the reality is that operating referendum for the average homeowner is going to cost about $20 per month is the cost of that. So at this point in time, before we turn over to public comment, turn it over to you guys or the board for any comments, questions that you guys have.
Who should we be angry at? I'm angry.
Yep.
Who should I be angry at?
Well,
I know where they are. They're down there in Indianapolis, Indiana.
I've talked to Chairman Thompson from the Ways and Means Committee. I think legislation knows that there needs to be some changes to this bill, but again, I can't operate on a hope and a prayer. If you ask me to trust what legislation says may happen, I can't do that, and I'm not putting a whole lot of stock or weight into that. I truly believe that you're going to see some adjustments with Senate Enrolled Act 1, but I think you're going to see the benefits of that go into the adjustments they make for the local income tax, which has nothing to do with the school, that benefits the counties, municipalities, and cities. I think there's going to be more flexibility for them to be able to recoup some loss. I don't think there's going to be changes in the language that help school districts. I really don't. They're getting ready to go into a short session in January. And there could be some language changes, but I just don't see it happening. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see it happening. So I would encourage folks in the community, reach out to your local reps, talk to them. Locally for us, it's Lori Goss Reeves and Senator Andy Zay. Those are local reps for us that you need to reach out to and talk to. But again, they're just a small cog in the wheel. At the end of the day, funding for schools is dictated upon the donut around Indianapolis. That's the reality. That's the harsh reality of it. So I think you're going to continue to see funding mechanisms constrained on school districts to where they're going to try to force schools to consolidate, county schools to consolidate. That's what they're going to try to do. You're going to have a couple of options. You either consolidate because you're forced to from a funding mechanism, or you pass an operating referendum. I mean, that's the reality. And that's going to be up to the local communities to decide what they want to do from there. And at some point in time, if you don't pass the operating referendum, then it's out of your hands. You may not want to consolidate. You may not want an operating referendum. Well, guess what? If you don't pass the operating referendum, then by not making a choice, you've made the choice to consolidate. That's the reality of it. So I hope I don't see that. I think I got 16 years left in my career in education, but I bet I do see it in those next 16 years. So that's the unfortunate reality that we're facing. So, I mean, if we're talking by 2028 that we have to pass an operating or cancel transportation, then what's the next piece of legislation from there that's going to hand tie us financially? So
I have something that bears on my mind that I'd like to share with you. How many of us in here right now are Mississippi grads? Look at us. Now, when we were going through school, me in the 60s, when I was going through school, you know what? Somebody in that community was taking care of the business of keeping the school going like it's supposed to go. Somebody was stepping up to take care of me and my crew and you and your crew. It is now, this is my opinion, it's now our turn to step up. When step up has to happen, then it's going to have to happen. So all I'm saying is, I know I'm going to have to step up, and I know I'm retired. I know what it's going to do, and I know how I have to deal with it. But I will deal with it. We have to step up. I'm sorry, that's the way I see it.
Well,
That's just me.
Mike, and I appreciate that. And I mean, social media is a bad thing sometimes, but it's also a good thing. It's a way for us to get information out. I hate the people, I'll be blunt, our keyboard warriors, and we put it out there and we get a few handful of people to show up, but we get a million comments on Facebook. And one of them is, well, Jeremy, you don't live in Grant County or the district. Correct, I don't. That's 100% accurate. But I believe in this action, whether it was the capital referendum that we were looking at last year with a small operating referendum, or having to steer away, now that we're having to go away from the capital referendum and solely look at the operating referendum. I've said all along, whatever that average homeowner pays, that taxpayer pays, I'm cutting a check back to the district every year that I'm here, because that's how strongly I believe in this. And so for people to throw that out there really dumbfounds me quite a bit. And look, I'm gonna put myself forward on that, just like the board, because you other local taxpayers are doing the same thing. Just like anybody that would go to the poll and is going to vote yes is going to do the same thing. Too many times people are going down rabbit holes just trying to basically steer people off of what the real topic and focus of the conversation is, which the focus of the conversation is hey, reality is we're losing this revenue. If we want to maintain these services, we need to replace that revenue, or we have to cut that lost revenue from our budget. I mean, it's simple. I mean, if I lose $20,000 on my salary from one job to the next, guess what? I've got to cut $20,000 from my own home budget the next year, or I got to go find a job that makes up that $20,000. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's simple economics is what it is. And scoreboards are another thing. Scoreboards, people are, I'll choose my words carefully here. People are upset about those, but that was pre-planned prior to Senate Enrolled Act 1. That was a bond project that was specifically laid out scoreboards, the athletic improvements at the high school, along with bus replacements and the other things that we did. Chimney removals at I think Northview and Westview, and roof repair at Northview and Westview, and the other things that we use those dollars for. People are upset, even if let's play devil's advocate here. All those improvements cost $650,000. That was a one-time improvement. That's a drop in the bucket when I'm talking about a $1.5 million annual reoccurring loss. That doesn't fix that. That doesn't fix that. So to throw a fit and moan and complain about that doesn't fix the issue. That's just creating a topic of conversation that doesn't help any sort of come forward with any sort of problem solving or resolution to the real matter at hand. It's just smearing mud to smear mud at the end of the day. And that's what I'm seeing a lot from the community right now. And I hope I hope there are a lot of people watching and see this. And I hope a lot of people take that to heart and really come to the table from a solution-oriented position rather than bringing more problems to the table.
So I guess for me, about 20 years ago, when property taxes were in place, local funding was determined locally. So your property taxes that you paid stayed local. People complained about the high cost of property taxes, and the Indiana General Assembly, in their benevolent patronage, took that process over for people because they were complaining about it. And because that happened, now our money goes to the state of Indiana, and the legislature then determines what we get back. So that arrangement that happened from that also affects us each time we come to a budget year, because our budget, we have to plan out longitudinally, but our money that we get only happens every 2 years when the state of Indiana decides that. So that can vary at different times. So many people got what they asked for. If you go back and you'll look and go back 10, 15 years on your property taxes and look, and you'll say, man, you know, our property taxes were really low then. So what now is occurring with this change in property taxes is the state is now putting the onus back on the locals to pick up that difference. So the changes that you see that are happening are a direct result of what happened 15, 20 years ago and what happens now. Those costs are coming back. And because of those changes, I think Jeremy mentioned it, those donut counties and those other areas are benefiting from it. But those jurisdictions that are rural or that are restricted because of at-risk populations are getting less money to be able to deal with that. And so it's sort of it ends up being a perfect storm for us. I appreciate what Mike had to say. I mean, really, that's our only choice, is to offer the community the opportunity to step up, to be able to make up that difference. Or, you know, in my lifetime, we could see Mississinewa Community Schools cease to exist. I mean, that's the reality of what we're looking at here today. And I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just trying to tell them the truth as I see it. The legislature that is meeting in this special session what would you expect when you see this crazy things that are happening in this special session? Do you think they would be focusing on what's happening in education or what's happening locally? No, we're worried about redistricting so that we can make sure that we have the people in place nationally for an election, when we should be focusing on the business of the state of Indiana, not the business of the federal government or what happens there. And that's the thing that's most frustrating for me as a board member. We only have two representatives that we can talk to. Many counties, larger counties and jurisdictions, overrule us just because of numbers, you know, that they have as representatives. So I'm supporting this because I want Mississinewa Community Schools to continue. I love having people who graduated from Mississinewa come back here and work and be able to invest and raise their families. And if this doesn't happen, and the legislature doesn't make any kind of changes, I'm afraid that that's not going to be able to happen anymore. And it's really, really sad.
I want to give a couple of numbers just related to the operating referendum. These are, we haven't gotten updated numbers with the 2026 net assessed value. This was based upon 2025 net assessed value. So these are some numbers that we're going to get updated over the next month and have ready to go after Christmas. But for the lower 25% or 25th percentile home, which is around $100,000 gross assessed value, the operating referendum that we're looking at is $13 per month. For the average home, which is $128,000 gross assessed value in our area, it's $20 per month is what the operating referendum will run. For the 75th percentile home, which is around $168,000 in gross assessed value, it's right around $30 per month. Again, these are 2025 net assessed value calculations, so we need to get those updated to 2026. But that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about doubling property taxes or anything like that. We're talking about somewhere in the ballpark of $10 to $35 per month for folks. So that's my last comment that I have.
Not to put you on the spot, Jeremy, but I've heard some stories, and I haven't done any research yet of my own, but about sometimes when transportation, and maybe not in the state of Indiana, but when transportation ceases from the district, there are sometimes companies that come in and provide transportation. I'm just going to guess that that's going to be at a much larger rate.
I'm sure it would be, yeah.
$35.
I'm sure it would be. I'd have to reach out to Lake Station Superintendent to see what happened there, if they saw that happen over there. I think Speedway down in Indianapolis, I think that's another district that doesn't have that has never had transportation. But
They
reach,
probably have local,
yes,
buses.
so yes.
the bigger
Yes.
cities have the local
Yes.
buses.
So that's something I don't know of anybody personally that's had to deal with that, but I would venture to guess. Yeah.
Obviously.
I mean, they're not going to come in and do it for free.
Yeah.
They're going to come in and do it for a business model to make money. I mean, a company that does that. So, it's going to cost. I mean, it's going to cost money for sure. So, and then there's coordinating that with the school and all that. So. Okay. Everybody good on the board? Okay. You guys are up. It's your time. Mr. and Mrs. McNutt.
I'm here to try to encourage you guys to go to Indianapolis and fight for the buses. I wrote a little bit, and then I want to tell you a few more things. For one thing, I'm Elmore McNutt, and I drove a bus for 30 years. I've seen a lot of things and heard a lot of things, but I still think the school systems need buses. Just stop and think. What is it? Second grade has to come clear over here. How are they going to get here when they're second graders? How are they going to make it when they're any of those grades? Even high school, that's quite a ways for these kids to walk. Would you like to walk today? All that snow, I don't think a lot of kids will show up. And a lot of parents have to be at work. Most parents do. They're at work. Some of them have to go at 6 o'clock in the morning to get to their works to be there by 7. Maybe it's a couple minutes early, but especially days like this, it may take them longer. We've got to fight for these kids. Their mamas, I had, just like the one girl, she kept kind of cutting her, scraping herself. She hadn't talked to her mother for several weeks. She had no daddy. She talked to me and I convinced her to go to the gal in the high school and talk to them. Sometimes they'll talk to the bus drivers and tell them the troubles. Well, if they have to go to work by 6 o'clock, how's these little ones good? Yeah, maybe a neighbor, but after a while, sometimes neighbors don't like to do that either. And makes it bad. Yeah, sometimes buses have to start fairly early to get their buses warm for the kids. How's the country kids going to get here? Are they going to walk? I seen, and I'm not lying to you, I swear. I noticed a car following kids and would pull up in front of them and watch them. And they'd go past. That's just about the time the kids out here, the girl disappeared and another young person disappeared, and they had him tied to him or her up in a van or something like that. Luckily, the guy only had a part of an arm, and the child was able to escape. What would have happened to that child? That child was walking. Do we want to put our children at risk? Yeah, I'm old. Won't be my kids. Might be my great-great-grandkids, but you get attached to those bus kids. You know, you really do. And you don't want anything to happen to them. And you run into them now and they show you their kids. It's you love them. You don't want nothing to happen to them. Oh yeah, you have to get after them sometimes, same as teachers. But You just don't want anything to happen to them. You've got to get somehow up in Indianapolis and fight for buses for these children. And yeah, it'll help the parents. I had one little girl, I forget if she was kindergarten or first grade. I was taking all the kids home and I had her still in the bus and it's 5 o'clock. Honey, where do you live? In a white house. What's your mommy and daddy's name? Mommy and daddy. You get my drift? I was ready to take her to the police station to see what to do because the office had left. Of course, it wasn't their fault. And just so happened I decided to try another road. And there was mom and daddy and a whole bunch of adults laughing and talking. And I stopped the bus and they still for a few minutes. Then finally the mother said, oh, I wondered when you were going to get home. 5 o'clock? Yep. And mommy's name is mommy and daddy's name's daddy. How are we supposed to find them? And where would she have went if she'd walked? If she'd have walked to, if she'd have got to school, how would she have got home? She didn't even know where. A White House? Have you ever looked how many White Houses there is? There's a lot, believe me. Well, they need to ride a bus. They need protection. It's not just for the ride, for the weather or the walk. It's for the protection of the kids from some of these loonies out here. I'm begging you to go and fight for them. Please. I don't want anything to happen to them. I'm getting old. No, I probably won't know it, but I run in some of my students and they still are glad to see me. Some of them apologize what they did and some don't, but I'm still glad to see them. Know they're doing okay. They got families, they understand. You guys probably know some of that because you've been there. So anyhow, I beg you, try any way you can. Fight for them. Have parents to write. Fight for them. Put it in your notes and in the paper. Parents, we need to fight for our children so they can have those buses and get to school safe and sound from heaven only knows, plus the weather. Suppose it's pouring down rain. You know, it happens before. I'm just begging you, please think about it. Because I know what you're saying. I really do, sir. But somebody's got to fight for these kids. Somebody has to. I beg you, fight for them. I hauled your kids. They weren't too bad.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Bob McNutt. I've been around a few years too. I'm going to be brief. I'm talking about busing. I'm talking about your taxes. I'm talking about Grant County. Grant County is the worst county in the state of Indiana. 92 counties where we stand. We're at the bottom of the barrel. Chris, you know it as well as I do. Where's Miss Cinema stand? You know, 1948 when we consolidated Jonesboro and Gas City. You know, we had the big fight over where this high school was going to be built. You know, I remember some of that. Tells you my age. But let me tell you this: we've got to stand up and fight for what we believe in. And I strongly believe. And I told somebody 3 years ago when they told me that the superintendents of all local schools except Marion would be one superintendent. How many members, one superintendent for the county schools? That's what we had. Each school had an assistant superintendent. You know, do we want that, or we want to fight for a superintendent, or we want to fight for Miss Cinewall? We've got to roll up our sleeves and do it. We can't sit still and do nothing. And taxes is our survival, you know. And the Senate bill, of course, won. You know, I read that in its entirety. I wanted to see what it had to say. And let me tell you, there's a lot of garbage in there by politicians. A lot, you know. In some way, shape, or form, Miss Sandoval, being where we are, with the number of students, our layout, we've got to fight. We've got to fight twice as hard as many other schools. And I have confidence that the board will do that. I have confidence in the superintendent, but let me tell you, you're going to have to probably make them hard, tough decisions. We don't have sidewalks for kids to walk in every place. Traffic is, people don't care when they drive, they run stop signs, they speed. You know, what risk are we putting the kids in? We have to ask those tough questions, you know, whether in the first grade or second grade or fifth grade, you know. And I'm gonna tell you, homeschool will increase. Charter schools, when I looked at what the state did for the charter schools, and I have nothing against charter schools. Any of you have the right to send your child to a charter school, but you should have to pay the full fee. That's my argument. Why should part of my property taxes go to a charter school? I don't believe in that. You know. And, you know, we may have to reshuffle. You know, we got a first grade out here at Westview. We got second or so. We may have to make some tough decisions to realign our alignments in schools. There's going to be people not like it, you know. And it boils down where we maintain Miss Sandoval what we want, and that includes a good bus service to get our kids here safely. In 2028, what happens? The bridge down there is scheduled to be removed. The two mayors right now, along with the state, is working on that plan because that bridge has been declared life expectancy, and they're going to remove it and build a new one. It'll take 2 years to build that new one, and knowing the government, will probably be lucky in 3. So, you know, I'm not going to take any more of your time except saying we have to fight for Miss Sandoval. And I believe the people in here is willing to roll up their sleeves and do what we have to do to survive. And because we have a lot of issues, but we've had them before, gang. And I strongly believe that we can overcome this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McNutt. In regards, we are doing everything we can to fight locally and with state. I was able to attend, I think it was last spring, with Chairman Thompson, who heads up. He's a big proponent and heavily influential with Senate Enrolled Act 1, heads up the Ways and Means Committee, and I threw out all these numbers and more regarding this. And to be honest with you guys, I didn't get a response from when I brought it up, and we had Grant County officials there, City of Marion officials there. I think all but one of the Grant County superintendents were there. And I spoke for long and hard, and basically I just got a head nod from him on what our issues and concerns were with this bill. I've had conversations with Senator Andy Zay, Lori Goss Reeves. We've had both of them here personally. And then all we can do is continue to talk to our local reps. Any chance I get a chance with Chairman Thompson to send him more information, I do. But from there, there's not a lot that we can do. We work as a superintendent's group throughout the state to fight Senate Enrolled Act 1, doing the best that we can there. Hopefully we'll get some headway, but again, we can't operate on a hope and a prayer, and that's why we're looking at the operating referendum. Our fight locally is going to be the operating referendum. That's our fight locally. Getting people to understand that, to be able to justify $10 to $35 per month on their property tax bill to maintain that. Because to me, well worth the investment, from that standpoint. So we really want to get people educated on that, to understand what they're voting for, and to understand truly the significance of this for us going forward. And then down the line, we're going to have to figure out what we're doing with RJ Basket. So that's going to be, that's a problem for another day. So, okay. I appreciate everybody's comments. So I think we're good, Chris.
All right. Again, we'll have 2 more opportunities for the public to be able to talk. Those are all posted on our website. So if you'd like to come and you'd like to speak, you'd like to talk more about it, Jeremy and the rest of the administrative team are more than welcome to meet with anyone, talk with anyone about the project, about the referendum, what we're wanting to do and accomplish, and what the repercussions are. So I'd encourage the public and individuals to take advantage of that. Again, always welcome to come and speak if you want here, but getting really detailed information would come from Jeremy and the rest of the.
Yeah, and our next, we'll have an open session on December 15th, our next board meeting, just for updated comment. I'll probably have some additional, I won't go through a full presentation like this, but I'll try to have some additional information, maybe summarize it. And I think that January meeting, I want to say it's January 12th. I'm shooting from the hip here on it. Okay. So January 12th, that would be the earliest that we would make a vote, is on January 12th. We may even push to February. Just kind of depends on how things go. Just we want people to be able to voice their concerns, voice their opinions, but also get them to understand our backs are against the wall on this. We have 2 options. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Okay, that ends item 8. Let's move on to item 9, recommendations to approve the 2026 board meeting dates.
yeah, Mr. Vice President, we recommend at this time to approve the 2025-2026 board meeting dates as proposed.
Okay. What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Vice President,
Yes.
make a
Mr.
motion
Richards.
to approve the 25-26 board meeting dates as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Okay, we have a motion made by Mr. Richards and a second by Mrs. Miller to approve the 2026 board meeting dates as presented. Further questions, discussion? Being none. All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, item 10. We tabling this one then? Are we?
No, this one's good. The next 2 we will have to.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
Mr. Vice President, at this time, I do recommend approval of the Moak Park Group contract. That's our architects for this existing bond project that we're working on, for the bond dollars that we've authorized. We were able to get our attorney to look at that finally and get the stamp of approval on that.
Okay. Any other questions or anything from the board about the Mopar Group contract? It's in your packet. Okay, being none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the contract as presented.
Mr. VP,
Yes.
I'll make the
Miller.
motion that we approve the Moak Park architecture contract as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. Okay, any further questions about the Mopar contract? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign.
Aye.
So I guess I will have to vote on that to make sure that we
Okay.
work that through. So I will vote aye. Got everything we need there?
Mhm.
Okay. Let's move on to item 11. Approval of the energy savings with Verigy.
Yeah, so item 11 and 12 are kind of linked together. It's part of the solar project. So for that one, we did send off to our attorney. Got some red flags on that one. I don't know that's a project that we're going to be able to get in time in order to get the federal refund prior
Okay.
to December 31st. So at this time, I would ask that the board table items 11 and 12
Okay.
related to the proposed solar projects.
Okay. So we'll list item 11 and 12 as tabled. Do we expect those to come back, or are those just tabled for the short term?
We may get some stuff back to at least talk about in exec session or next board meeting, but it could potentially be
Okay.
dead in the water at this point with the federal refund piece.
Okay. I know we had a timeline on that.
Yeah,
so that's why-
we do.
Okay, item 11 and 12 will show as tabled. Item 13, the dreaded first reading of school board policies. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. President, we have included 17 policies for the board's review. Please let me know if you have any questions as you review them. We will do a second reading and approval of these policies at the next board meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy. What's the board's pleasure? Oh, God, sorry. That's not a voting item. My bad. Item 14, second reading, school board policies. This is the large list. Yes.
Mr. President, we recommend approval of these previously read 37 policies as presented.
Is there light at the end of the tunnel?
You said this is bad. I love to see these on there. That means I finished them.
Okay, all right, okay, yeah. But
Means
I'd
they're
like to
done.
see, I'd like to see that big D-O-N
Mhm.
on, E on.
We're
there.
getting there.
Done.
We're
We're
getting
in the
there.
nines.
We're getting there.
All right.
We're getting there.
So everybody had a chance to look at the second reading of policies. Any questions on those before we move to the motion? Okay. Let's move down to second reading of the school board policies that are listed. Do we have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion. Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. Richards.
37.
Thank you, Mr. Kraus. Okay. We have a motion that's been properly seconded to approve the listed school board policies as presented. Further questions or discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Page 2, personnel.
Okay, Mr.
Item
President.
15.
Yep, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, we have the following personnel items for your consideration this evening. Kimberly Bittner, third grade teacher at Northview Elementary School to retire effective December 19th, 2025. Kylie Scott, teacher at Westview Elementary School, has requested a leave of absence effective for second semester of the 25-26 school year. And Jacob Keith to be hired as middle school track and field coach at RJB effective immediately. We recommend approval of these personnel items as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Buell. Do we have any questions? Ready for a motion? What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Vice President,
Yes, Mrs. Miller.
I'll make the motion. We approve the personnel items as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Crouch. Okay, we have a motion to approve the personnel items as presented by Mrs. Miller, second by Mr. Crouch. Further questions or discussion? Okay, being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Facilities report. Jared?
Snow and ice.
Is it snowing? All right.
Present, that's what I should say.
Well, you know, I was expecting all those people that were in here to ask about a 2-hour delay with all the snow that was falling, but nobody said a word. Nobody said.
I guess.
Okay. Okay. Anything else about facilities? Okay. Legislative update. So today was the first day of the special session. I think you heard some of my comments earlier, but special session is supposed to be focusing solely on redistricting. With this being the short session, I know, Jeremy, you mentioned some comments about tweaking some things. The question becomes, anything that involves funding or money is generally withheld until the budget year. And that has to have the approval of the Senate Finance Committee and Ways and Means for the House. So I don't know if that will figure into it or not, if that comes into it. I did get online to look today, and there will be committees, but they haven't established any of those or named those yet. So when I get some information for that, I'm lucky I serve on a legislative group that's separate from that. So for what I do for work, and so there's a lot of crossover there. So we have a legislative lobbyist that reports to us at different times. So I get to know at least what the committees would do. I won't know what action happens after that, but that's really all I have. And then I guess one other thing, Jeremy, that I was reading, I think it was in maybe last week's paper in Fort Wayne, that they were projecting 100+ referendums this next in 2026.
Yep.
So
It's confirmed. I'm privy to some private information, but it's minimum 45 that are confirmed right now. As people continue to go through Senate Enrolled Act 1 and the impacts of that, and just education funding in general outside of the Senate Enrolled Act 1, it's projected over 100. So I mean, saying 100 between 26 and 28 is a very, very conservative number.
Yeah.
More than likely 150 to 200 referendums
so I guess
between those 2 years.
My hope is that while they may not care particularly about Miss Cinewall schools, those other corporations that are in Fort Wayne and Kokomo and those areas that are hit by that will carry weight with the legislature. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. And the ISBA does a great job of advocating for school corporations and that part of it. So, tune in if you want to know what's happening, listen to the board meetings, and we'll tell you if we have any updates. Item 18, athletic corporation sponsors, donations, and grants.
Yeah, Mr. Vice President, we have the following corporate sponsors and donations for your approval this evening. Corporate sponsors, Boomtown Donuts to high school athletics in the amount of $500. Mrs. Cinewall Alumni Foundation to high school athletics in the amount of $500. At OPS Supplies to high school athletics in the amount of $5,000. Donations, Tecton Construction Management Incorporated to Boomerang Backpacks in the amount of $500. Troy and Michelle Stanley to Boomerang Backpacks in the amount of $220. Carrie Wardinger to Westview Therapy Dog in the amount of $48.06. Amber Coulter to Westview Therapy Dog in the amount of $100. We recommend approval of these donations as presented.
Okay. What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Vice President,
Yes.
make a motion, we accept these wonderful gifts as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller. Okay, we have a motion. It's been properly seconded to accept the athletic corporation sponsors, donations, and grants as presented. Further questions or discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, item 19, claims.
$1,381,161.84 is presented for approval.
Okay. What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Vice President,
Yeah, Mrs. Miller. So you're getting action here without the black and Tim that you
I'll
did.
make a motion to pay the claims 56511 through 56633.
Okay, fine job. Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Miller. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. Okay. We have a motion to approve claims 56511 through 56633 as presented. Motion made by Mrs. Miller, second by Mr. Richards. Further questions or discussion? Okay, being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Correspondence and other business.
Yeah, Mr. Vice President, our next board meeting will be held on Monday, December 15th, 2025. We will have opportunity for public comment related to our cancellation of transportation resolution. Have some information on that. I do want to add in, we had our free Thanksgiving community meal Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you to all of our sponsors, our monetary sponsors, and people that donated their time. Served 401 meals altogether. We had folks that on our staff that went out and delivered meals to community members. We had a good attendance in person, take part in the meal, and we were able to donate with a local organization leftover food that was able to be distributed as well. So great event, great first time doing it. Looking forward to making it bigger and better for next year. So just want to appreciate everybody's involvement with that. Amanda may have this to say, but I do have the Northview Christmas performance. I think is next Monday at 7. So,
We actually have 2, Mr. Fuel.
okay.
So we'll have 5:30.
Okay.
Second and third grade, and then 7.
There we
is
go.
4th and 5th grade.
There we go. So encourage people to go at that. That'd be out the pack.
All right,
So,
great.
and I just want to reiterate some things I talked about earlier during as we go through the referendum process. Just encourage people to be respectful during that process with one another. We can have differing views of opinions and thought process, but just being respectful with one another during that process. Take advantage of the fact that my cell phone's out there and call me. I put it out there, but nobody ever calls me for some reason. I guess I'm not that fun to talk to. So it is what it is. But stop in and visit, call. School finance is very complex at the
It's
end.
so much easier to make a snide comment on Facebook.
It is. Rather than going straight to the source on it.
Yeah.
So, and I encourage people just take time. It's you're not going to be able to educate yourself unless you take time to learn about Senate Enrolled Act 1, learn about school funding, ask questions before just getting mad and yelling at the current school board or administration or blaming past school board members or past administration. Just educate yourself and come to the table for a high level conversation and solution oriented conversation at the end of the day, because no matter what the outcome of the operating referendum next November of 2026, we have to live with the results one way or the other. And we're going to have to continue with transportation and services if the referendum passes. If it doesn't, then we're going to have hard decisions that are going to impact people no matter what. So I just encourage people to really do their due diligence and take me up on my offer to learn more about the process. So that's all I have.
Okay, anything from the board? We'll move on to that item on the agenda that everybody looks forward to, item 21, adjournment. So moved. Thank you, Mr. Richards. We have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. We have a motion for adjournment been made by Jared Richards, seconded by Mrs. Miller. Any other things to come before the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Go ahead by saying one. We're adjourned. Thank you.